Ready? Good evening. Today is March 7th, and welcome to the City of Revere Human Rights Commission meeting. First, I would like to introduce our new members, Samaya and Mr. Baptista. If you guys would like to give a quick introduction to who you are.
Yes, good evening. My name is Herbie Jean-Baptiste. I am a former 1199 ACIU, a vice president. I was in charge of the nursing home team division in Massachusetts. I was a board member for 1199 I involved as a board member for GBIO, Greater of Boston. I'm a board member too for Asian Caucus, which is in charge. And then I'm a board member too, with the Haitian diaspora. So I'm very pleased, to be part of, this commission. And then I think I will be very helpful to learn from you guys, and then I can bring some ideas to this committee. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And we look forward to hearing your shared experience and all the experience you bring to this commission. And Samaya?
Thank you. My name is Samaya. I basically grew up in the Shirley Ave community, and I have over 8 years of grassroots and community organizing experience. In addition to that, I recently graduated with a double major in environmental science and international relations. So part of my education entailed getting some background in human rights law, and that combined with the fact that I grew up here and that I have so many years of experience with grassroots organizing, I'm really looking forward to sitting on this commission and interpreting and translating human rights pillars and human rights values into what makes sense culturally for us here in Revere.
Thank you. And we look forward to having your expertise and your background here and your education. You seem well-rounded, and you handled yourself well the other night on the council meeting, so I applaud you. I'm going to take some items out of order. If I can have a second?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Motion, please. Take matters out of order.
A second. Excellent. We're going to talk about a recap of what this commission has done in the month of February, and I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Garcia.
First, I'd like to welcome Jean-Baptiste, welcome, and Samaya. Samaya, I cannot get enough of you. You used to be my student. But welcome. Very good. Good to see you. All right. So I think the month of February was a successful month. First, because it was the first time, I think, if I remember correctly, that we have done such, we got an event of such a magnitude in Revere. The event was co-sponsored by the City of Revere Human Rights Commission. So the event counted with the participation of Revere TV as well. And all of you, I truly appreciate the support, the encouragement that you provided, and the fact that you were there supporting the event. We got IFE, the focus of this year's Black History Month was arts, and IFE certainly rose to the occasion. She was there. She did not only acted, but she really brought some political discourse. And she certainly embraced the narrative of Black African Americans in this country. By showing a movie of her own, and also by really engaging with people who were at the scene at the Revere High School, students, families, parents, politicians, and so on and so forth. So it was a wonderful event. We had the Jamaican food, actually, there, and as a way to promote Black business owners in our city. And whenever we have an opportunity to do that, we should do that. So that's a highlight, really, of the month, celebrating the Black History Month. I myself was very impressed with the participation, people coming, sharing, dancing around, talking about the African-American, and they certainly, the ancestors, what I have done, what I have gone through, what I have endured. So I think it was a wonderful event. Everyone came together, coalesced around the same goal, which is basically making sure that the day, the month is recognized, continue to be recognized, not because it's one day that we meet to celebrate, but something that should be celebrated every day. Every day. I want people to celebrate me every day. So I believe that people want to be celebrated every day. So across the board, regardless of the race, gender, identity. So we are human beings. We should be celebrated. So, but a month is important in the sense that it recognizes the importance of African Americans in this country, the contribution they brought to our country, and the whole idea of them certainly being the backbone of the structure of this country. So it was great. So my hope is that we'll continue to do these types of events, continue to support the good cause. We have a lot of work ahead of us. It's by certainly working together that we can accomplish many things. So what I saw, I was very pleased with what I saw, and I think this month too is another month that we celebrate the Women's International Day. So I look forward to supporting the best we can. So I just want to thank you, all of you, for being there. Those who have not been, we'll look forward to seeing you next year. So it was great. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I apologize for the very late inconvenience. Thank you very much, Steve, for taking control over the meeting and really starting it. I appreciate that. I guess, I know that we are going out of order considering the fact that we're talking about what we did in February, so I would just like to go back to how the meeting should have started. I'm just going to do a quick roll call of commissioners, including the new commissioners that we have today. Attorney Molly McGee.
Present.
Dr. Garcia.
Present.
Chief Bright.
Present.
Commissioner Karupich.
Present.
Commissioner Samaya LaRusi.
Present.
And can you reintroduce yourself, sir?
Herbie Jean-Baptiste, present.
And Commissioner Herb Jean-Baptiste. Welcome to the new members. Like I mentioned, I apologize for not formally introducing you on time. But I'm glad that I'm glad that everyone's here today. And last but not least, Steve Morabito. All right. I know that we already went through the introduction of the new members, so we're going to just move on from that, and we're going to go into a land acknowledgement before heading off for the rest of the agenda. We would like to let the public know, as we've done before in the past, that we are on Native land, and the land that we are a part of is part of the Pawtucket. And we invite any indigenous peoples or Native peoples in our city to join our meetings and really have that connection with us and really have them in our conversations as we're moving forward to make the city more of an inclusive and better place. For monthly acknowledgements, as everyone has seen, for the month of March, it is International Women's Month and Women's History Month, which started March 1st. It's also the National Disability Awareness Month. March 8th, tomorrow, is International Women's Day. Ramadan starts the night of March 10th, so Muslims in Revere and all around the world will start fasting on March 11th. We have also on March 11th, we have the World Day of Muslim Culture, Peace, Dialogue, and Film. March 17th is Evacuation Day. Also on March 17th is St. Patrick's Day. March 20th is the Spring Equinox. March 20th is a holiday called Imbolc. March 21st is World Down Syndrome Day. Also on March 21st, International Day of the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. And March 25th is International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of the Slavery and Transatlantic Slave Trade. Other than the events and holidays that I've mentioned right now, are there any other things that we should be celebrating on the month of March?
Easter, March 31st.
All right. So for this year, Easter will be on March 31st. I know that there are events happening towards the end of March. March 27th is the Iftar Day. Does anyone know where that's gonna? I believe it's gonna be in the Senior Center. Am I correct?
So they're going to have a Ramadan dinner on March 27th at the Senior Center from, I believe, 6 to 8.
I know that there is another.
I think it's at 5:30.
There is another event happening on March 28th with the Revere Public Library. I believe it's a Masquerade Murder Night. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to be, but I know it's going to be at a restaurant. It's going to be at Casa Lucia's in Revere, obviously. All the events that we've mentioned before, if they're not already on the HRC website, they will be put on there for everyone to access for their convenience. If there are any events or any other holidays in the month of March or for the rest of the year that one would like the Revere public to know, just reach out to the Revere Human Rights Commission or fill out the form in the Human Rights Commission website so that we could post it on there for everyone to see on the calendar. All right. I know we've talked about, Dr. Garcia was just ending off the BLM event that happened at Revere High. So I guess we're going on to the next agenda item, which is voting on the new chair/co-chairs. Like I mentioned in the February meeting, it has brought to my attention that we have to re-vote for both chair and co-chair. So I did let everyone know ahead of time that this will, including the new members, that we will be having, I guess, this voting for this month. Does anyone have any suggestions on who, does anyone would like?
So Madam Chair, so if we can go down the line and see if if anyone, so we go in order and then someone will nominate, the first person who normally votes would nominate someone. And then whoever has the most nominations, that's how it works.
All right. Got it. So I apologize for this. Before we start with the voting, I would like to just have someone to approve the minutes from the February 1st meeting.
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Second.
Thank you. All right, I guess moving on with Steve's direction, it would be Chief Bright who would start the nomination process. I'll keep track of who everyone nominates as we go down the line, so whenever you're
Are we
ready.
just doing vice chair now, Madam Chair? or for both?
We'll start with chair first, and then we'll go for
I
vice
hate
chair.
to just put someone on the spot to nominate them. Would there be anyone interested in the vice chair position? Was it
Wait,
I'm
clarity?
interested.
Kirby?
Yes.
Are we voting chair first and then vice chair?
Yes,
Just to be
so
clear.
before we start the voting process, nomination process, we would like to ask if anyone would be, interested in being the chair first, and then we're gonna go to vice chair after. So, Anyone at the moment who would like to nominate them, is interested in being the chair?
You just have to nominate?
Yeah,
So,
chair. We're nominating chair right now.
Chair. And start with me?
Well, first I'm asking like if anyone is interested in that position, and if there is, then afterwards we would go into the nomination process. So. I mean, if y'all would allow me to, of course.
So,
So, Madam Chair, the way it works is, if you're going in the order of chair, or are you going to vice chair right now? So you just go as if you would normally, as if you were taking a vote, but that person would say who they want for vice chair or chair.
Okay, I was thinking to do chair first, everyone, and then vice chair. Yeah, no, we'll start with voting for chair first, and then whoever once we make the decision of that, we'll go for vice chair after that. All right?
I nominate then Chair Hosani for Chair of the Human Rights Commission.
I echo Chief Bright. I nominate Chair, current Chair Shay Hosseini to be the chair.
Go ahead, Dr. Garcia.
Shay, chair. Vice chair. That's after, okay.
Sorry, Dr. Garcia, can you repeat the last part of what you just said?
I nominate Shay as a chair.
And for vice chair, you didn't mention anything about that?
I thought that was after.
After, okay.
You just go down the line as if it's a.
Thank you very much, Dr. Garcia. Attorney Molly McGee?
Current Chair, Shaima Husseini.
I mean, personally, I nominate Samaya.
Chair Shay Hosseini.
Chair Shema Husseini.
Chair Samaya.
So the ruling is that I am the official chair of the Human Rights Commission. Thank you very much, everyone. All things considered. I guess moving on from that, to vote for vice chair. So whenever you're ready, Chief Bright, go ahead.
Herbie Jean Baptiste, please.
Dr. Garcia?
Jean Baptiste.
Attorney Molly McGee?
Herbie Jean Baptiste.
For myself, I would still recommend Samaya to be vice chair.
Samaya.
Go ahead, Samaya.
I feel like it's only right to vote for myself because other people did, so myself.
I vote for myself too, to be chair.
With the vote of everyone of the commission, the new vice chair would be Herb Jean Baptiste. Congratulations.
Thank you, I really appreciate that.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating in the vote. Moving on to the next agenda item is just a reintroduction of the subcommittees for the new members, if they're interested in the subcommittees. So we don't call them technically subcommittees; they're called working groups. And there's 3 that are official right now. We have the cultural events and celebrations subcommittee. That's with me and Chief Bright. We have education, research, and evaluation. I believe that's with Dr. Garcia and Attorney Molly McGee. And then community outreach and organization is with Carew and Attorney Molly McGee, with Commissioner Carew, Pitch, and Attorney Molly McGee. So just a description of each one of the different working groups. For cultural events and celebrations, it's really much in the name, just really planning out events that the community would be involved in, seeing if there's really working together with the calendar and seeing what is going on in the month and really organizing events around what's going on in the city. For education, research, and evaluation, it's more focused on things that we could bring to the community, whether that be in terms of education. We would, there are things going on regarding, history of Revere, things that have been done in the past, and doing more research about how can we facilitate change in Revere. And the community outreach and organization really just brings that all together and seeing how can we reach out to the community and get a lot more community involvement. I just speak a lot about the cultural events and celebration because that's the only one that I'm really involved in. But for the other committees, for members of those committees, you could definitely speak more about what you folks do in those working groups. Start with the education, research, and evaluation working group. So Dr. Garcia and Attorney Molly McGee.
In terms of evaluation and, education in general, my job is to ensure that we have a public that's well educated. There's a lot of trends out there in terms of making sure they understand the power of diversity, the power of knowing where we came from, our origin, our history and identity, and making sure that we create and work with others to ensure that we create a climate that is welcoming to different people, different groups, those are the type of things, or even making sure that we utilize community-based organizations, the Revere TV, the mayor's office, to really galvanize our mission, which is making sure that we understand that this work cannot be done by individual institutions or individuals, but by a constellation of people, let's put it that way. So that's my goal. That's, we are not there yet, but that's what I'm pushing, because that's the core of the issue. So.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Attorney Molly McGee, would you like to speak on it?
Sure. Through the Human Rights Commission, myself and some of the other commissioners have been working on a history project about Revere and about the Human Rights Commission. It's not by chance or by luck that we are here today in City Hall, and kind of where this group came from back about 40 years ago, and then its rebirth about 4 years ago, and what that means for Revere. Trying to get something on the books. Very, very happy to be working collaboratively with City Hall. Thank you so much to our director, Steve Morabito, and our current mayor, who is really supporting us. I think that's why we were able to get such wonderful new commissioners to join us in this work. I would hope that you would have an interest and want to join in this research project. I've definitely used everybody already on the commission for multiple interviews and discussions about what they know about Revere. I think both of you have a lot to say about your time here and about why you want to be on the commission. And it's our hope, I think, as a whole commission to just get as many voices as we can on this project and make it something to leave on the books in Revere.
Thank you very much, Attorney Malamigi. As for the community outreach and organization, I know you just won, but you could definitely speak more about that. And Commissioner Karupich, you could definitely just talk about more about what that group really focuses on. Whoever wants to go.
Thank you, Chair Hosseini. First and foremost, I would like to thank all the commissioners, new or existing. And I also appreciate Director Morabito and also our new city mayor. I'm trying to switch from Chelsea to Revere. City mayor for supporting the work of the commissioners for the Human Rights Commission. So for the Outreach and Organizations Committee, I'm also want to look at the, to build a community that have a sense of belonging, looking at, equity, inclusion, justice in the community, elevating voices that are not being elevated or heard, such as, LGBTQIA community, people with disability, immigrants, BIPOC community, Black community in particular as well. How can we be part of this kind of like a community inclusion and every voice is being heard, and also they are also can be part of the community building and organizing itself. So I'm really looking forward to that. I would love to have kind of like a project of learning and listening tour and going to each community and partnership with the city councilors to involve everyone in this community.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Karupich. Molly, would you like to speak more about it? Or? Thank you. For the new members, you don't necessarily have to make a decision right now. You could definitely just, let it marinate and really just think about what commissions, working groups you do want to be a part of. As soon as you decide to make that decision, just definitely let me know, just so I could put you folks on those commissions, and we'll officially announce it in the upcoming monthly meeting, okay? All right, other than that, I would also like to have it on record that Reverend Wellington de Oliveira is not currently with us today. So that's also there. In terms of other business, for the past month, Chief Bright and I, along with Steve Morabito, we've been in the process of doing an event for Women's Month, so definitely be on the lookout for that. We're just in the middle of officiating of making things official before we start spreading the word about that. So definitely be on the lookout through like email, social media, and other ways that we'll kind of communicate for the community. But all I know is that it's going to be an amazing event. We're going to have a lot of cultural foods. We're going to have henna, calligraphy. Just be on the lookout for that and just be really excited for that. There is nothing else that I've gotten from the commissioners in terms of other business, so it is indeed an open forum, whether that be within the commissioners or anyone in the audience. Ooh, is there anyone on Zoom? All right. Before we bring this meeting to an end, is there anything?
Madam Chair?
Oh, yes.
Just a point of personal privilege. I just want to make a correction on the Ramadan iftar dinner. That will be on March 27th at 6 p.m. at the Beachmont VFW, which is located at 150 Bennington Street in Revere. Also, if you are looking to purchase tickets, I believe it's only $5 to reserve a spot by March 20th. And you can call ASMAR at 617-545-4458 if you're interested in attending the Ramadan iftar dinner on March 27th at 6 p.m. at the Beachmont VFW.
Thank you very much, Director, for for putting that on record. Like I've mentioned before in the beginning, well, when I came, that a lot of these events that we will kind of post these on the HRC website. So if you do have more information about where all these events are going to occur, they will be on the Revere website and the HRC website. Additionally, like I mentioned before, if there are any events or any other holidays that we haven't mentioned in tonight's meeting, there is the opportunity to bring that up with the HRC website or email us directly at the HRC email, just so we could have that updated in our website and in the Revere website. Other than that, is there anything else to be brought up during the meeting before we adjourn? Go ahead.
I guess point of inquiry, how do the subcommittees or working groups function? Like if, for example, like I know that you wanted to do an International Women's History event later this month. Like, is that something that we would discuss in these meetings, or is that like a separate outside discussion?
So, I'll use the International Women's Day event as an example. That's something that we just brought up in the previous meeting in terms of planning the events for the following month. And from there, we just decided like who would be taking on that event. Like, if we are going to do an event, so it would be the cultural events and celebrations group that would take on that project. But it really does depend, like month to month. Like if like for the month of April, it is like Arab Heritage Month. You know what I'm saying? So like that month it would be community outreach or education. You know, bring out just like literature, or just let literature to spread or disseminate the information to the community. So it really, yeah, like I mentioned, it is like based on, it's like project wise. So it's like whatever we want to plan as a committee for the next month, whoever decides to take on that role would be like the group that would make that decision. Go ahead.
Chair Hosseini, do we communicate it with you or with Director Morabito?
It would be for the both of us. It would be for the both of us, but mainly so far I've just been directing, I would be talking with Director Morabito about it, and then as soon as we saw that the event was being finalized, that's where I started telling the rest of the group just to see if this works with everyone. But like I mentioned, it just go project to project, but mainly just Director Steve.
I would like to have like a transparency with all of us as commissioners as well. If we are planning any events, I would love to get all the involvement and ideas. It's like some concrete task that each commissioner can support for that. Beside the monetary support from the city, I would love to have kind of more involvement and discussion. And how do we do that so that each commissioner is on board and aware that it's not a surprise, and then how we speak about it in our community as well.
Yes, I guess like.
I can speak.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Madam Chair, through you. So how it should work is the commission subcommittee should be planning on their own. It shouldn't even, I should know the end product of what's going on. But if you need some kind of help in my capacity, then I'm there to support you. But the commission should act independently and work as its own unity to form an event. So, and you would do that through subcommittees.
Thank you very much.
And unfortunately, a lot of the times, planning takes a long time, and there's not a sufficient amount of time in a month. So you have to plan efficiently and effectively in order to make it happen. So if you're looking at an event that's going on in June, you probably have to start planning like 3 months in advance or 2 months. So you need to make a calendar way in advance. You can't be talking about International Women's Month a month before. You have to do it 3 months before. You have to, the proper planning is in order, because there's a lot of I's to be dotted and a lot of T's to be crossed. I hope I didn't confuse things, but.
No, thank you very much for the clarification. Sorry, go ahead.
Chair Hosseini, thank you, Director Morabito, for addressing that. I would love, if it's possible, if we can have like a training or something, and we can identify, let's say, 5 events in a year, or 2 or 3, and then we can plan accordingly so that we are not rushing, and then we can well inform the community so that the community can get involved. And I think I remember early on when we also put the committee together, we were talking about inviting community members to join those subcommittee as well. So if it's possible to kind of identify, like, let's say 5 events in a year, or 3 or 4, whatever possible, whatever budget we have, that would be an ideal for me as a commissioner.
Thank you, Karupich.
I have a point of inquiry and maybe suggestion. Maybe this would help address the lack of transparency. But it sounds to me, because of your response and Director Morabito's response, that because the HRC is supposed to function a little bit independently from the working groups, that there isn't like a minutes or some sort of like summary or something like that communicated to the rest of everyone. So if that is not the case, then maybe we should do that.
I believe, because like because I know I've been keeping minutes. That's something that we're supposed to do as working groups. I think what my biggest concern is, I feel definitely, Steve, you could definitely provide more information about this. It's just like I'm afraid of like the open meeting laws.
Correct. You can't have more
Yeah.
than, you can't have 5 members working on a project because it's a violation of the open meeting laws. So you have to take advantage of having your subcommittee meetings live.
I believe like that main point is the reason why there has been a lack of transparency, only because it's supposed to be within like only a couple of people are supposed to know without breaking those laws officially.
So just to clarify, like if it's like over a certain amount, like 5 people, then it violates it. But if it's under a certain amount, then you don't have to record in the same way that you do like record keeping for this, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Not to the same extent, but yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're also allowed to invite members of the public, is that correct? Because that's what Karu, I think, was mentioning.
Yes, so like we can have members of the public, but not like members of the commission who ultimately make the decision of what's going on, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you for clarifying.
Of course. No. Commissioner Krupich, you could go first.
For transparency, we can also, let's say, a group of subcommittees meeting, we can also, can we share those information to a bigger kind of, with the rest of the commissioners? That's what I'm,
Any public meeting has to provide minutes. If that just to be bold, make a bold statement. Any public meeting should have minutes.
I have an additional point of inquiry regarding improving transparency. Would it be possible to just find a way, like come up with some sort of a rule so that anytime that there is a plan to put together some sort of planning meeting for something, that the others are notified and the community is notified ahead of time? I don't know if there is one already.
I think what I was trying to do, especially with like the event for Women's Month, is to bring it up in the previous meeting. So like as of now, and like plan for it ahead of time. Like, hey, what do you folks would like to see in the month of April, May? And then from there, at the end of the meeting, we would like come to a conclusion, like, okay, maybe we should focus on this particular thing for that month, and then whichever subcommittee that is most appropriate for that occasion would ultimately take over. Like if we are gonna do like a listening tour and like, oh yeah, let's start it, in April, that the people who would want to do that would be the community outreach and organizations that would take on that role yeah. Go ahead, Dr. Garcia.
I certainly understand where Karu is coming from, and I understand the points also that Morabito and others have raised. I'm all for transparency and structure. I'm wondering if we could create a online calendar where if we decided on a particular event, maybe people can go there and basically enter the event we're about to celebrate, or the subgroups that are about to planning and celebrate. If that would help, that's viewable by all members, and the public also knows about it. That's one. The second thing that I would strongly encourage, and I probably have repeated this more than 100 times, I think we should find time for a retreat where you have all members around the table, you plan for the year, because there are so many events. This is a very diverse community, and if we really want to do something that's equitable, inclusive for everyone, no groups are left behind, you need to map out for the year. Pretty much like we do in schools. When this time around comes, we do meet and we plan for the year with a strategic plan or a school improvement plan, and know each month what exactly you're going to be doing. So that way you have a shared understanding of the activities coming up. There's no confusion, in the spirit of transparency and making sure that people are not all over the place. I think it's something we should explore. I don't know how we're going to use it or do it, but we have done retreats in the past. And I think that's important because it brings everyone together. That way we're marching in one direction. There's no confusion. There's no lack of transparency. There's nothing of that. Just a suggestion.
No, I agree with you, Dr. Garcia, and I think that's exactly what we should do, especially when it comes like after we get the budget. So like July, for example, that would be, I feel like, the best time. As soon as we get our budget, we like the best way to plan it. My only question is like, when it comes to, and this is assuming that the retreat isn't going to be like a public viewing, just like the ones that we did with the racial equity with Janine. How are we gonna be able to do that and like not make decisions while sticking to like open meeting laws? Because like if we're gonna do a retreat, it has to be like based on something specific. If that like it has to be like an actual training. So like how do we go about that?
There are ways you can circumvent that, and I'm doing that now actually with my school committee members. So when I do training, for example, for staff, faculty, and others, it's training. We know that's training. But when I do that with the school committee members, because of the opening, so what we do, we call it workshops. That way, is basically, you can call it a workshop. It's, there's a way you can circumvent it. Don't call it anything else. Don't call it that. We call it a workshop or something like that. You can circumvent. There's no problem with that.
It is a workshop.
What is a workshop?
What you're doing, it is a workshop.
Yes, exactly.
It is a workshop.
Yeah. So that way you don't fall into this trap of following this and that. Huh? Okay. All right.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Vice Chair.
I think, I like the idea, like kind of from Garcia. One thing we need to, when we come to retreat, I don't probably want to say retreat, but I think if we're going to do a planning meeting, let's say like kind of we have something that we have to work together, I think, what Garcia bring, even we said, okay, let's put 4 hours aside. 4 hours aside or 6 hours aside, so we can plan whatever we need to discuss and come with several ideas what we need to do for the year. And after that, put a calendar in place and then like kind of everyone follow the calendar. I don't know if you guys use like kind of OneNote. We can use like kind of maybe have everybody use OneNote. When we have the minutes, people can, you know, either like kind of say, okay, this is something I like, this is something I don't like, so everybody can see that. I think, you know, the idea like kind of have all of us meet on one place particular, and then sit down, brainstorm, like kind of whatever we need to do, like kind of for the whole year. And then that, I think that would be very helpful.
Thank you, Vice Chair Jean-Baptiste. Go ahead.
I like the idea of us to regroup to do the training, especially it's good to set the goal for the whole year. Either policy, either subcommittee, either event that we are doing, so that we know and so that we can share with the public and the public know what we're doing. And I also, in the, since we're having this conversation about training, I remember that last year commissioners were trying to organize training in the summer, the circle practice training, and because many of whom were not available and we don't have new commissioners yet, so I would love to revisit that again as well.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Pitch. I think going along with what Commissioner Pitch said, and then to bring back Molly's idea of having someone from, like, for example, Cambridge HRC to come in and really facilitate like an actual training to see like this is how things are done at their commission, and just see like how can we could or incorporate that into our commission as a way of saying like as a way of actually like training ourselves to how to make the city a better place. So we could definitely see we could definitely plan out like how to have that communication with other HRCs who are a lot more who are on a different level than we are, and then basically just learn from them, see what strategies that they're making, see like how they really approach community engagement and cultural events and organizations. So I think just bringing back to what Molly has mentioned, I believe either the February or the January meeting, to bring that back along in conjunction with what Karu is mentioning as well. Does anyone else want to speak about that, or just like want to go along with the idea with bringing both Molly's idea and Karu's idea together to actually make it into a proper training for the next for the fiscal year of 2024-2025?
My hope in offering that we would have mentorship with the Cambridge Human Rights Commission was not a training necessarily for the commissioners, but it's actually for the City Hall, so that we would know what a real Human Rights Commission looks like in another city where they have a large budget, where they have employees that are paid to be on it, where it's not just the director balancing multiple hats within a diversity, equity, inclusion role, and what it looks like in a city that is, you know, regarded in Boston as far more diverse, equitable, and inclusive. So I would love to separate the two from a training for us as commissioners and a training for Revere City Hall and the city of Revere about how they can support a commission like the Human Rights Commission.
Okay, much of what I would like to share is echoing what has previously been said. I am totally on the same page with Commissioner Urbi-Baptiste on, I don't think that it necessarily needs to be a whole retreat per se, but I think even just putting aside a couple of hours and really focusing on not only like what our calendar events might be for the next fiscal year, but also I think it would be really great for all of us to get on the same page and workshop, like, what are our values? And, like, I know that we have a mission statement, but maybe translating that a little bit more clearly into some calendar year objectives, I think would be important, so that we're all on the same page and not one person feels like this is what I make of the mission statement, and another person has a completely different interpretation of what that looks like in practice. And then in conjunction with what Molly was sharing about doing trainings, I would really like to see if we could not necessarily train, but just workshop our own interpretations of human rights as a commission, and do some sort of, I don't know if it would necessarily be training or just something in conjunction with actual city hall, like electeds, in explaining or maybe educating on what we have decided the HRC is and what our mission statement looks like. Like, I guess, communicating whatever that workshopping, whatever comes out of that workshop, because I think even though the electeds all know that we have a Human Rights Commission, I'm not entirely convinced that they all know exactly what that means, or what human rights is.
Thank you very much, Attorney McGee and Commissioner LaRusse. I think that,
Can I just say something, Madam Chair?
go ahead.
So I think we need to look at it, a Human Rights Commission. I think you want to look at educating the public. You want to look at externally more than internally, and you would really want City Hall to handle internally, as far as like electeds are elected by the people at the end of the day. So we really don't dictate workshops for them as an organization, as a city, nor as a board. So they're electeds. So we can make them available, but if we do an external training, but the Human Rights Commission doesn't really focus on the internal operations of City Hall, if that makes sense. So.
Thank you, HRC Director. Go ahead, Dr. Garcia.
I hear, Steve, I hear what you're saying, but certainly this group has we can invite them.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can invite them. So one of the things that I'm just going to give you an example. So we doing that with our school committee members. We never gave them training on cultural responsive teaching now. They're taking training with us. They're enjoying it. We're learning from each other. It's a journey. So you can always extend an invitation to them. Ultimately, it's up to them to accept or reject it.
I absolutely
Yeah.
I agree
If I'm-
wholeheartedly.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Garcia. Go ahead, Commissioner LaRusse.
If I may add, I think making it optional is perfectly fine, because I think even if we did have the power to make it not optional, it probably won't have the impact that we want it to anyways. So I'd rather only people who care show up. But I also want to extend and add that I think it would be great for us to not just open it to electeds, but also other people in positions of power, including school committee people. I know they're also electeds, but any local, like public school staff, et cetera, people who hold institutional positions of power within the city, I think would greatly benefit from it. I also heard what you said about like we need to focus on externally communicating what human rights is and educating on that front. But maybe this is a separate conversation for the outreach subcommittee and working group. But I don't have any doubt in my body that our community and our public, at least our marginalized communities within Revere, know what human rights is, even if they can't articulate it. They know what it is because they fight for their human rights every day. So I don't feel that necessarily we should go about, I can't foresee a way of us being able to educate our at least marginalized communities without almost being patronizing. And the only way that I can really see educating community as being a functional thing that would help our community members would be if we were providing resources for articulating what they're experiencing. I don't think that there's any educating per se. I think the only support that we can provide marginalized communities within Revere would be to take what they're saying and what they're doing and put a spotlight on it and articulating it through like human rights verbiage, if that makes sense. Because I don't want us to fall in that trap of sitting people down of marginalized communities that are experiencing hate crimes within the city and telling them, this is what human rights is. They know what it is.
Yes, I am 100% on board with what Samaya is saying, and like I kind of disagree with the fact that like the HRC should focus on like external things only, mainly because like a lot of the things that we want to do are things that we want the city of Revere to be involved in, because if it doesn't start internally, then it won't be able to go out externally. That's just like that's just for like general population overall. To Samaya's second point, I definitely agree, like without being patronizing, we can't teach the people that we've dedicated our mission to, the most marginalized, the most discriminated people, what human rights is, because they already know what it is. I'm just echoing to what she's saying, because I 100% agree. We should be focusing on how can we make that structure, that foundation in our city hall available so that we can make it more accessible for those externally, if that makes sense. If you don't have a strong foundation within City Hall, then you really can't make a building out of it. So I agree with Samayo's saying, and I agree that with Molly's point that if we are going to have a training or some sort of mentorship from a different human rights commission about like, this is what a successful human rights commission looks like, that should be done not only with us, but with City Hall in general. But I think we should have that mentorship on our level first, and then see how it goes with us, and then really just expand on it with the rest of City Hall and then the other institutions that Revere is a part of. Go ahead, Dr. Garcia. Sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Crew.
Thank you, fellow commissioners, for sharing such great information and idea. I don't want me and us to operate in a way that it's us and them and separation, because everyone is part of the community. Everyone has the responsibility and accountability, right? And everything we do, it's not just like, okay, we're gonna do it for this particular community. We have to think 360 degree. Any decision making that we are having, we should think about the marginalized community, the people who's on the margin of the margin, right? And when we have everybody's voices together, that's when people have a sense of belonging and people stay and people involve. So I don't want us to kind of like, okay, let's do this and let them do that. There's no us and them. Everybody is part of the Revere community, and everybody should be educated and involved regardless what your position is.
Thank you, Commissioner Pish. Dr. Garcia, go ahead.
No, I just want to add to what Samaya just pointed out. I think we need to sit down and define what education is, and we should not make assumptions. So, as an educator myself, my job is to basically work with others to dismantle the structures that are there that are preventing people from expressing their voices. So that's my job. That's the definition of education for me. It's not for us to come and impose perspectives and values or views on those whose culture and identity are well defined already. We're talking about our marginalized groups, our families, our immigrants, and so on and so forth. No doubt, on that end, I agree. But we also can educate people through, by sitting down with them, using storytelling activities for them to express and tell us their day-to-day difficulties, so that we can see where we can work with the system to increase access and opportunity for them. That's our job as Human Rights Commission. That's our job, and that's education. Storytelling, creating language access to our vulnerable population in the city. We have many out there, many immigrants in this city that probably needs that. See how the intricacies of the system, including City Hall, is working. Yes, we have done a lot, but we still have a long way to go, and that's education. So this word education needs to be defined, and we need to know and define it and know what exactly we want in terms of our vision and in terms of what we're trying to accomplish. It's, when I talk about education, I'm not talking about imposing the views, the American views or the mainstream views on those who have come here in search of a better life. I'm quite certain, 100%, that we're going to go into our community here, we'll find a lot of immigrants with probably master's degree, bachelor's degree, and many other degrees. They're not seen, they're not valued, their voice are not being heard, and our job is to do that.
If I may, I have maybe a few points of inquiry and potential qualifying. I definitely understand the value of storytelling and education. Actually, let me start with the defining education part. I think that that definitely should be added to what we workshop. So I definitely think having a calendar of like year events that we want going into the next fiscal year. Number two, deciding based on our mission statement, like breaking that down into some clear objectives so that we're all on the same page about what human rights looks like in practice for us for at least that fiscal year. And then three, I think defining education should be somewhere on there. So I'm in a complete agreement with that. And I completely understand the value of storytelling within education, however we choose to define it. I think storytelling is just important in general. But I do want to qualify and bring up, I'm not sure if this is necessarily what you meant, Dr. Garcia, and please feel free to like interject, but given the history of what this Human Rights Commission has been and has seen, we are all not strangers to seeing people either forcibly or maybe voluntarily try to share their stories, and that has not gone well because we lack protection. I hope that everyone on this commission understands what I'm referring to when I say that. And I'd also like to add on to that, that as someone who was a US Census enumerator, I am very familiar with our community members being very scared, particularly our immigrant community being very scared to open up and share. And I never want to put anyone in the position to feel like they have to or they need to. And again, storytelling is important, but I think it's also important for us to take advantage of the voices that we already have on here. For example, I am not afraid to freely speak on my experience. This is just as an example, as someone who has gone through the Revere public school system. And yet at the same time, no one really ever feels like, despite knowing how open and opinionated and how I am very unafraid to speak my mind, nobody ever tries to pick my brain about, oh, what was your experience like? What forms of education injustice did you witness or maybe potentially went through personally? Because we don't necessarily need always first-person accounts. I can speak on several people's stories because I've had to witness them, because I've gone through that. And on top of that, I only graduated fairly recently, like 5 years ago. So everything is kind of still fresh in my mind. So that's just an example. I think we can all, as commission members, because we're a diverse group, we can all do that and speak on, especially those of us that have lived here long enough. It doesn't necessarily always have to be a first-person account. But yeah, I just don't want us to fall back into bad old habits, because this Human Rights Commission has been there, done that, putting people on the spot, having people share their stories, and at the same time not provided enough protection for victims in this city, and I do not want to go back to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner LaRossi. Go ahead, Dr. Garcia.
I like this dialogue. So what I'm trying to say with that, if there's one group that's going to tell you, the one group that has been on the spot, this is the Human Rights Commission. You can ask every individual on this board some of the horrendous experience that this group has gone through over the last 2 or 3 years. It's just a matter of going to YouTube video and see all the things that are there. So we know that this place is not safe. But what I mean by sitting with people and listening to their stories, I did not mean to go and openly and do it. First of all, to do that, you got to fertilize the ground. We have to fertilize the terrain. You really understand. You need to make sure that, you prepare the ground. It's like planting a seed. You need to prepare it so that otherwise you will not have a good, plant or a tree or any other vegetable, So you need to prepare. And how we do that is by having these meetings, training people, working with the mayor, working with diverse stakeholders in the city, with the school department. You mentioned that, your experience. I'll get sit down with you and also tell you about a lot of my experience as a principal, as a leader in the city. A lot. Being a person of color. I can sit down with you and tell you a lot of stories. I know. So I agree with you. There's a lack of safety. We need to really do a better job so we can put people in a position that they will be able to freely open up and tell you their experience. So that's the only way. I agree. Believe me, I'm not discounting that. I'm not naive. I know the climate. I thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and thank you for clarifying. And just so we're all on the same page, the only reason why I brought that up again is just given the history of this HRC, I don't want any room for interpretation, but thank you for clarifying.
Other than Commissioner LaRousse and Dr. Garcia, I want to obviously give opportunity to the other commissioners who have something to say about this, about the discussion that we're having right now. I know I've mentioned it, so I want to have that conversation open for anyone who hasn't spoken up already. Go ahead, Commissioner Fish.
Taking everything into consideration, I also want to remind us that it's so important for all of us who's sitting here to take care of ourselves, emotionally and physically as well. And also change is a process, it's not an event or destination, right? So just you're reminding ourselves, change is a process, and we're learning, and organizing is also messy. What I have learned for many years, well, that doesn't mean that change is not going to happen, good outcomes not going to happen. It's happening, and to have different expertise coming, I am so hopeful for this Human Rights Commission group. I really appreciative of all points that have made, and including the safety of everyone, safety of all of us, safety of the community, and also able to work with the community. We're not gonna have success if we don't work with everyone, right? We need to work with probably the fire department, the police department, the city, the union, everybody that involved in the community. So we cannot do this work alone. I just want to say that everyone needs to involve in this work.
Thank you, Commissioner Pitch. Go ahead, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair Solani. I think this is a very, very good conversation. I think, it's part of this conversation. We don't have that much time today to express how we want to proceed the next level. I think, what Mr. Garcia said, there's a lot of stuff that we need to bring as a group, this is part of the subcommittee. And then one of the things myself, I can tell you, I can write a book about myself, how I've been treated, unfairly, especially with with the, they violated my rights. But that doesn't mean, and then there's some other words too, I don't want, it's not we want to use some education. I think, sometimes everybody knows what human right is. If someone doesn't know that, I think, we can probably explain it to them what human rights is. But I think this is a very good conversation. We need to continue to have that conversation, and we need to meet as a group and then among ourselves and then sit down, have a conversation, and then how we're gonna move forward. As Somaya said, we need probably, if we need to go meet with the school committee, if we need to go meet with the fire department, if we need to go meet with the board, if we can sit down with them, have a conversation with everybody, I think it will be very helpful.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Jean-Baptiste. Anyone else would like to speak on the matter before we adjourn? Like I've done with past meetings, all of this will be done in the minutes. Will be written down in the minutes, and we can use those minutes as a way of propelling this conversation even forward with our next meetings, and really just planning out how this is all going to be planned out for the next fiscal year, and really starting the next year strong. Just so we could close out the meeting. So if there's anything else that you would like me to put on the minutes, like I've mentioned in the emails, just let me know, and I'll definitely put it on there. Before we close, can I please have anyone to adjourn the meeting, please?
Motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second the motion.
Thank you very much, everyone. The meeting is adjourned. All in favor of adjourning the meeting at this moment? Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.